Hey guys, this is E10 Sun from SunBros. Today I'm really excited to be bringing you guys this brand new video, but before we get started with that, I want to make sure I remind you guys on how to get entered in for a chance to win our guaranteed skin giveaways that we do every Sunday night during our 1-hour question and answer live stream. All you gotta do is make sure you're subscribed to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and comment below with your in-game name and which skin you'd like to receive on either the NA or EU servers under 700 vouchers. And remember, the more videos that you do this with that are uploaded each week, the higher chance you have to win. Alright guys, let's go ahead and jump into the Superman how to build video, and as always we're going to be starting in the hero page so we can get a little bit of an idea of who Superman is and how best to build him. Alright guys, so we're going to start with his passive flight. Superman has two modes, flying and walking. He gains 2% movement speed and charges energy for every 100 units he walks. And he takes flight once his energy is fully charged. Flight mode grants 20% movement speed when moving towards an enemy, and his normal attacks deal additional physical damage equal to 12% of his own maximum HP. So that's important to note. That's going to be on 3 of his abilities, including his passive and 2 other abilities. Superman exits flight mode when he is hit with a crowd control effect that lowers his movement speed to 375 or less. His first ability is Kryptonian Strength. Superman uses his ice breath to generate a blizzard that deals 250 damage plus some based on 80 scaling to enemies and slows their movement speed down for 1 second. If in flight mode, Superman rams into enemies dealing 170 damage plus some 80 scaling and 12% of maximum HP. So the damage is actually based for this ability when it comes out of flight mode off of his max HP, and then he does the heat vision thing, so it's a dual move. So he rams into them, then does heat vision, and the heat vision also does physical damage. So one of the things I want to note about this is the cooldown on this actually is down to 4 seconds, which is extremely low. And it's going to be one of the main things that Superman does. Superman's best utilization is being in flight mode. So one of the things that he does really well is he flies in, does an ability, like charges him with Kryptonian Strength, and then gets out of dodge in flight mode and comes right back in for another go-around, another flyby, if you will, to do a crap ton of damage. So that's one of them. Then we're going to be doing Man of Steel, the second ability. Superman unleashes his full power, which immediately frees him from crowd control effects and significantly increases his movement speed. So you can use this to get out of any kind of crowd control and get back into flight mode. If he is in flight mode, Superman will slam the ground and knock back enemies, dealing a bunch of physical damage, as well as rid himself of the crowd control effects and increase his movement speed. So think like Scud, when Scud spins and knocks enemies back with his ultimate, it's very similar to that. And then we have his ultimate, Speeding Bullet. Superman taps into his full potential, which increases his charged up speed by 100% for 10 seconds. So he's able to get to the flight speed really fast over and over and over again for up to 10 seconds. Pretty amazing. If in flight mode, Superman will ram into his enemies and knock them back, dealing a bunch of damage, again based on the max HP of Superman, and have his charge up speed increased by 100% for 10 seconds. So Speeding Bullet is pretty good either way to really get him to be able to do his flight speed over and over again. So when you do the ultimate, you'll be able to just literally fly in, do an ability, come back out, fly back in, come back out, fly back in. Superman is not a guy who stays in for the fight. He's a guy who flies in and flies out and flies in and flies out over and over again, doing a really high amount of burst damage. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and go to the build page and discuss how exactly we're going to be building Superman. Now for the build purposes, I'm going to give you the main build that I want to give you, which is going to be more of a higher damage build, but I'm going to give you 2 alternative builds, one being a jungle build and one being a more tanky build. And actually the jungle build is going to be the tankiest build of them all. So we're going to start with the basic build for a basic roaming Superman top laner, and I'll give you guys an alternative tanky build, and you guys will be able to choose what you want to do from there. And if you really want to try it on the jungle, I'll give you a jungle build that's super tanky, although that's probably not his best place to play. So we're going to be starting off, actually, it's one of the few heroes we're going to be starting off with Boots. We're going to go Gilded Greaves, because one of the only ways to kill Superman is to slow him down from his flight. And if we can remove crowd control effects by 35%, as the passive resistance would tell us. So if he gets slowed, stunned, knocked up, knocked back, anything for a second, the Boots Gilded Greaves reduce that down to 0.65 seconds. That 35% reduction is going to get Superman back up on his feet and flying away. And even though he has a second ability, which is able to remove crowd control effects, and the first ability, which is able to help him get to his flight speed faster, or sorry, his ultimate, Gilded Greaves still comes in handy to making sure that one of Superman's biggest kryptonites doesn't actually end up taking him down. Next, we're going to be going to the tank section and getting our first tank item, and that's going to be Crimson Banner. Crimson Banner is really a phenomenal item on Superman because of its playstyle. He's going to get max HP, 1500 of it, which is a ton. Second highest amongst regular defensive items. Third if you include Leviathan. And 200 armor, which is nice for tankiness. But the passive is also very good on him. Restores 20% HP over 5 seconds after earning a kill or assist with a 10-second cooldown. So if you're doing a flyby, you fly in, you just knock down the mid laner, you roast them. Let's say they get off an ability or two, do a little bit of damage to you. You'll be able to restore 20% of your HP, get it right back, and go right back to roaming at full health. It's massively good on him. And we're going to pair it up with one of its best counterpart items, and that is Gaia Standard. Magic defense, so now we have 290 magic defense, we have 200 armor, and 1100 more health, and of course the 5% movement speed, which is really good on Superman. Superman movement speed is essential to everything he does to get him back into flight mode. And 5% on Superman is worth a lot more than 5% on a different hero because his total overall movement speed is going to be higher than your average person's. You also get the unique passive Regenerate. When taking damage, it restores 8% of HP over 2 seconds with a 10-second cooldown. So now we have 2 items that restore HP. We have Crimson Banner that restores 20%, and this restores 8. So now, when he does a drive-by, even if he doesn't kill somebody, well, I mean, ideally, kill somebody or get an assist, he'll be able to get 28% back. Even if he doesn't kill somebody, he'll still be able to get 8% back via Gaia Standard and prepare himself for another flyby, in which case he, will very likely be able to kill or get an assist and get that 20% back anyways. So we're building a lot of max HP on him, which is going to help the damage of his flyby abilities, and we're going to be able to give him some really hardcore regeneration of health, which is going to be worth more percentage-wise because he's going to have a lot of health, but it's also really plays into his play style more than most people because he does fly in, sometimes takes some damage and gets out, and to be able to regenerate that health that he lost during the flyby is really essential to him. Next, we're going to be going to get our first attack damage item, and we're going with Rank Breaker. Rank Breaker gives 110 attack damage, a passive which is very helpful to assisting the roaming. It's 10% extra movement speed after exiting battle. It just gets Superman where he needs to go a little bit faster when he's roaming. Like if you go for a flyby bot lane, knock a bot laner down, and you need to go mid lane, as soon as you leave battle, you're going to get 10% extra movement speed, making the flying even faster, and just helping Superman do what he does best. But the real reason we're getting it is the unique passive Break increases armor pierce by 100 plus 10 per level. So at level 15, that'll be a max of 250 armor pierce, which comes essentially because all of Superman's damage is AD, and he's very heavily reliant upon his abilities to do damage, and now these abilities are going to be able to hit harder than they would have before because of the armor pierce. Next, we're going to be moving into the opposite direction again. We're going back to defense, and we're going to be taking an item that I'm not a huge fan of the item, but the base stats fit perfectly for Superman. 300 armor, giving us a total of 500 armor on the build, 1200 more max HP to go along with the 1100 and 1500, giving us 26, 39 or 3800 HP at this point in the build. The passive riposte is fine. 15% of the physical damage taken is deflected to the enemy as magic damage. And the calculation is based on the incoming damage before the armor reduces the damage taken. So it's gonna deal a little bit of extra damage again. It's kind of I wouldn't say bad. It's kind of not needed on Superman as he is the flyby guy. His job isn't to stay in and take damage, or where Mail of Pain would be a better option. But the base stats are perfect for him, and that's what makes Mail of Pain a really solid item on him. The passive is just a small bonus that you won't experience receiving the real heavy bonuses of that very often. And last but not least, remember this is our a more high damage build. We're going to be going with another attack item, going to Fenrir's Tooth. And the reason we're going to Fenrir's Tooth is kind of a two-sided reason. Number one, obviously 200 attack damage is going to help him do a ton more damage to all his abilities as they do 80 scale. It makes a big difference, and the passive is really good on Superman. If Superman dies anyone, whether it's a tank or a squishy, at less than 50% health, he'll be able to one-shot them now, because the 30% extra damage that he's going to be doing to them is just, it's crazy. In my testing of it, I did it to the dragon. You know, I tested just a single flyby on dragon with the first ability, Kryptonian Strength, and it does the ram and then the heat vision. And with this build, believe it or not, we only have 2 damage items, and he's very tanky in this build. He hit for about 5,000 damage with that little 1-2 punch. It's just one ability, boom, 5,000 damage. Now imagine if that person is below 50% health and you're doing 30% more damage. You're talking about doing another 1,500 and getting up to 6,500 damage against a tank or somebody like that. I mean, it's pretty disgusting how much damage you're going to be able to output with this build. You also get the HP sustain with Gaia Standard and Crimson Banner, giving you 28% back when you get a kill and assist and take some damage. And you get a lot of movement speed bonuses. And you're gonna have, I mean, you're gonna be tanky. You have a lot of health. This is an overall off-tank build that does incredible amounts of health and kind of gives you a little bit of everything that you need. Now, build number 2, this is the tankier version, is only one item different. And that is this right here. And we're switching out Fenrir's Tooth for Amulet of Longevity. Now, I do like this build a lot also. It really depends on your playstyle. There are a couple of notes. Now, this doesn't, it does reduce the damage that you do, but it also adds damage because you, we're just getting 1,700 more HP. You're actually getting 1,700 plus 10% extra to everything. So 1,700 off the 3,800 we already had puts you at 5,500 plus 10% gives you another 550, which puts you at 6,050. So 6050 on the health. And it also increases the healing taken by 10% or 20%, which includes the healing you get from Gaia Standard and Crimson Banner. So the reason I really like this is because all his main 2 abilities that you use to go in flyby mode, his ultimate and his first ability, Kryptonian Strength, now they do even more damage because the 12% max HP for him is substantial. Even from 3,800 extra HP on top of his base and whatever you have from Arcanas to 6,050 health. So, I mean, that's a lot of difference in the health department, and it does add damage and makes him a lot crazier, more tanky. Now, if you really want to jungle with him and you want to go, you know, I consider to be super tanky on him and just make him virtually unkillable, that's build number 1 here. I'm going Leviathan. I'm going Hermes Select because I expect to do a lot more roaming than normally I would do on him, even though he's really a roam hero. In the jungle, that's all you're going to be doing is roaming and moving and moving. I think it really makes him a much more deadly and it gives him a much bigger element of surprise upon entering a lane to gank. But if you wanted to take Gilded Greaves, not a big deal, I understand. I completely understand that. So then you got Leviathan, 120 armor, 800 max HP, plus you get the passive that gives you 70 every time you kill a monster up to 15 stacks, giving it a total of 1,850 health, which is the second highest, or sorry, it is the highest health item in the game once it's fully built out. And then we got Crimson Banner Gaia Standard again, Rank Breaker, and Amulet of Longevity. The item we lose is the item that is probably the least effective on him, and that's going to be Mail of Pain. Now this build has 1,850 from Leviathan, plus 1,500, giving it 3,350, plus 1,150, giving it 4,450, plus the 1,700, giving it 6,150, plus 10%. You're talking about another 600 and, or 600, yes, 650, essentially, a little bit less than that, about 615. And so you're talking about almost 7,000 extra health for this build. Super tanky. The damage is still dead on because, again, he does extra damage because of all the extra health he has. He still does a crap ton of damage, but he's like virtually impossible to kill. So this is the 3rd build we're going to be showing you guys today. And the one that if you want to jungle with him, he's not super easy to jungle with, but it's, I mean, yeah, do what you want. If you want to have fun and do some jungling with him, this is a build that I would suggest. Next, we're going to be moving on to discussing his Arcana. Arcana is super simple on him. We go to the AD pen. We're going to be doing Onslaught for the attack damage and armor pierce, which is just going to help him do even more crazy damage early game. Assassinate for movement speed and attack damage, super simple, easy. And then Skewer for the attack damage and armor pierce. So we're just giving him extra early game damage and a ton of just flat armor pierce to really get him to be able to just blow people up. So super easy on the Arcana, and that's going to be the Arcana for all 3 of those builds. No questions about that. Then we're going to go to last but not least talents, as we do now. And if you're gonna be doing the jungle build, obviously you gotta take Punish. If not, I'm gonna give you 2 alternative options. If you want to be the big boomstick that flies by and just one-shots dudes, you're gonna go Execute. Execute does true damage based on the 16% of the HP of the enemy hero that they have lost. So if you jump in if you do a flyby with Kryptonian strength and you hit them with the ram and then the laser, they're going to lose more than likely. If it's a squishy, they're going to be really close to dead, probably below 50% health. Then you do Execute, it's going to be 16% true damage of what they've lost. I mean, guys, that is a massive one punch. Now, even better, if you engage with the ultimate, so you engage with your ultimate, bam, you hit him with that, and then you hit the Kryptonian strength for the Frostbeth ability, and you do damage on that, and then you Execute. I mean, the damages you're going to be doing is insane. The only other thing I would really consider taking on him is Purify. And even though your second ability does remove crowd control effects, it does not make you immune to crowd control effects after hitting it. So if you're going up against a couple enemies who have multiple crowd control effects, you disable one, you can get hit by another one immediately following that, and you could die. Purify not only removes all debuffs and crowd control effects, but it also gives you an immunity to them for 1.5 seconds. So if you really want to be just super unkillable on Superman, that is a legit option. I would probably personally prefer Execute, but I could see where you'd want to take Purify. And a lot of people ask me about Disrupt, and the reason I don't go to Disrupt is because, excuse me, simply put, Superman doesn't need it. His ability to get in and out so quickly, he shouldn't really be taking more than 1 or 2 tower shots, because his second ability removes crowd control effects and gives him a movement speed buff, getting him in a flight mode, which gets him out of dodge. And his first ability gets him in a flight mode his ultimate rather gets him in a flight mode really quickly, which can also help him get out of dodge. So either way, when you're going in with Superman, you should have 2 ways of getting out really quickly. So tower diving actually doesn't really require Disrupt as much as you think. He can go in and blow people the F up under tower without needing to turn it off, because he can do it with only taking 1, maybe 2 tower shots. So that is it, guys. That is 3 builds for Superman. 1 more damagey, 1 more tanky, and 1 in the jungle. Arcana's talents, I'm going to give you guys a quick recap of the builds. Build number 1 is the standard top lane build with just a little bit more damage. We have Gilded Greaves, Crimson Banner, Gaia Standard, Rakebreaker, Mail of Pain, and of course Fenrir's Tooth. And then build number 2, the little bit more tanky one, is the same thing. We're just swapping out Fenrir's Tooth for Amulet of Longevity for a lot more health, but not a whole lot less damage. It's kind of an interesting trade-off. It depends on how you look at it, because 30% you get extra from Fenrir's Tooth when targets are 50% health or below is a lot, and that's when it comes in handy for, let's say you do a drive-by, you get somebody below half, and you want to do a drive-by to ensure they just get finished off. Fenrir's is going to help you do that a lot. But otherwise, this is a much more tanky, safe build that's going to be super helpful. And then, of course, if you want a jungle, take the big, bad, max HP build that's going to rock your world, but still do enough damage to make a difference. This is it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, guys. All 3 of these builds, the Arcana, the talents, all that stuff. If you guys did, please let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought about the builds. You tried them out and you liked them a lot. I always appreciate hearing feedback from you guys on that. But thanks for watching, guys, and as always, till next time.